It was an early morning in Ponyville. Pinkie Pie had been awake since 7 a.m. She was told by the Cake family to look after the store, the sugar corner for them, since they were out of town for about a week. They went on a family vacation, and Pinkie didn't have any problem to look after the store for them. So around 8 a.m., she started baking cookies, cakes, anything that she was going to be selling at the store. She opened the store around just an hour later, around 9 a.m. So during the day, she had a lot of customers, and she is always polite, asking them if they're looking for something particular, or if they had already decided to order something. But around noon, she actually heard a door opened. She had just were in the kitchen, took out a plate from the oven with some cookies she had just prepared, and walks out to the cash register, and she sees a pony, a mare. A mare that she has never seen before in town. But as always, she is polite and asking if she is looking for something particular. And though the mayor says that she doesn't even know exactly what she was looking for, she is in fact in town to see an old friend of hers by the name Lyra Strawn Heartstrings. And she wants to want to buy something for afternoon tea. So she asked Pinkie if she had any reference what would be suitable for tea. And Pinkie actually said she pointed out some cupcakes, apple cupcakes, that is the reason they had been baked that morning. And the mayor actually saw they looked delicious. So she decided to buy 12 apple cupcakes. And when she said that her name was Morning Glory, she were only in town for a few days to see her old friend Lyra. Since Lyra and Sweetie Drops actually got married about a few weeks ago, at least a few weeks earlier, she wanted to be at the wedding, but she couldn't. But now, when she was in town, she wanted to buy something sweet to give for the tea. She actually said that she were at the wedding herself, and they start talking. Pinkie mentioned that she had known Lyra and Sweetie Drops for about a few years since both actually moved to town, and she actually thought they were actually an amazing couple. Especially now when they got married. She was actually very surprised hearing that Lyra and Sweetie Drops actually proposed to each other at the same time. But she was happy for them. So after that morning, Glory bought the cupcakes, she said thanks and left. The rest of the day, things actually went just normal. Pinkie Pie baked a lot more cookies, cakes, anything that she was going to be selling. Around 6 p.m., she closed her store for the day, and before though, she decided to take a walk in the town to the market before it was closing. She was decided to buy some ingredients for some her dinner. At the market, though, she ran into rather than Morning Glory. She was at the market with Lyra. Both of them actually was looking for something to eat for dinner, and Lyra was actually surprised that Pinkie knew her, or at least had met her during the day. And it turns out that Morning Glory were from Baltimore, and she was in fact a childhood friend to Lyra. But they had even seen each other for at least a number of years since Lyra moved from Baltimore to Ponyville, around some time when she had informed her best friend that she had met a mayor and eventually got married and was invited, but sadly that she couldn't come. Even though that Pinkie herself was like actually happy to get to know Morning Glory some more. And she then probably asked if Morning Glory was good in baking. And Morning Glory said that she were a decent enough well in the baking, and she asked why. She was actually telling that if Morning Glory maybe want to help around at the Sugar Corner for some maybe to maybe to get her experience or practice a bit more. And Lyra thought maybe that was a good idea. After all, it was a good way to socialize with some opponents in town, and as another way to get new friends. And Morning Glory was in fact not much as against the idea. So she decided to go to the Shikuku corner by the next day to help Pinkie. And it was a good thing too, because by the next day, early in that morning, just after the store opened around 9 a.m., a mayor walked in and asked Pinkie if it was possible to order a big order for a party that same afternoon. And Pinkie asked how much she was looking for to order. Turns out one cake, four pies, and at least 20 cookies. That was a big order, but Pinkie wouldn't have much of a problem to take care of that. So, after she took the order, Morning Glory actually walks in the store, and Pinkie informs her about this big order. So, they actually both of them have agreed to help. So, during that same morning, they worked hard enough on this big order, but since Pinkie was knowing that Morning Glory probably wouldn't know exactly where this address was located. So she said to Morning Glory if she could look after the store for about a moment while she was delivering this order later in that afternoon. Since the order was prepared to be delivered around 2 p.m. and Pinkie actually said that if she could look after the store, she will take over to take care of the delivery. And Morning Glory didn't have any mind on that. So Morning Glory actually looked after the store, and about maybe 20 minutes later, she came back and saw that Glory actually had handled a customer very politely. She was very polite and she was very well mannered, and she made this customer smile and laugh a little bit. And that is the best customer service that Pinkie can ever expect from a new temporarily employee. Even though this they were supposed to just be help, but she was very grateful that Morning Glory was there to help. After that day was over though, Pinkie asked Morning Glory what she thought about working at Shikuku Corner. Morning Glory said that it was actually fun. She had a lot of fun. She had learned new recipes to be baking and how to interact with other ponies in town, and she even made a lot of friends. Even when Pinkie said, if you would have to be moving from Baltimore to here, do you maybe think you can see yourself working here? Morning Glory said that she would probably think about it, but as for the moment, she actually had a good job in Baltimore. She tells her that she was working at the grocery store in Baltimore, and as well paid enough. But unfortunately, Morning Glory's staying in Ponyville lasted only for about less than about a week until she had to go back home. But they actually decided to remain in as pen pals, which was a good thing because when she returned back to Baltimore, things actually started looking up pretty much as normal for Morning Glory. But then something did happen. Just barely 2 weeks later, Morning Glory was told she was getting laid off from work. It turns out the store didn't had to made had to fire a few employees because the store was didn't have enough didn't have enough economics finance to pay off all the workers. So she was one of the few that had to leave work. And that devastated her because without the work, she was unable to pay her rent at her own small apartment. But luckily for though, she was able to pay for at least this month for the rent. But that was just one month of it. As the month was getting closer to the end, but the next rent being paid, her landlord actually asked her if she had found a job yet. But unfortunately, Morning Glory hadn't found any particular job at all. She had been around in town looking for new jobs within stores, grocery stores, or any particular jobs that was available. Cafe, or even any particular small job that was able to pay off some of the rent. She actually went a few promising interviews, but all turns out that she wasn't hired. And as the month was getting closer to the next month, Morning Glory asked the landlord if it was possible to delay her rent to paying maybe for about a week. And the landlord actually just accepted idea. But she had to pay him about at the week after that, otherwise he had to rent out her apartment to someone else, where she had stood. So she had at least one more week to find any particular job that could pay her. And unfortunately, she at first few days she didn't have any luck at all. But then she found a perfect job. This is a small store that was in fact were looking for to hire someone, and since she actually had previously worked at the store, she was in fact had experience. And but the low, she asked the owner if it was possible if she could have an early check because she needed to pay off her loan or at least her rent in the next month. And she explained the reason. The owner totally understood, so she gave Morning Glory some of the money to pay in extra, just in case, and as they was working, she was able to pay off the rent, and the landlord was happy. And Morning Glory was working at that store for next 2 months until she found out the owner had decided to close down her shop. It turns out her shop was not getting much customers anymore. So she was forced to close down, and that meant that Morning Glory was out of job again, and she no longer had any money to pay her rent. So, but luckily though, since she didn't have much furniture in her own apartment, just a bed and a couch, that's all things she had. But she told the landlord that she understood if her landlord would not be able to give her some time and to wait for another time to find a way to pay her the next rent, which her landlord said that it was not possible. But she understood. And her landlord said that it was sad to see her go because she was a very excellent apartment. She was a renter because she always paid in time, even if it was maybe one day late, but she was always applied to her landlord and other fellow residents. But luckily though, she was allowed to stay in her apartment just for about 2 days. 2 more days, and he didn't have to take off the water at all. But then, 2 days later, Morning Glory was on a train to Poland. She actually wrote a letter to her friend Lyra, informing her about her situation. Both Sweetie Drops and Lyra agreed to let her stay in Ponyville until she was on her feet again. So, 2 days later, she was staying at Sweetie Drops and Lyra's home, and she was actually just walking around in town by herself and felt down. She really had no idea what to do because she didn't want to stay at Lyra's home as permanent. She didn't want to stay there too long because she didn't want to feel that she is intruding in their home. But luckily though, when she remembered Pinkie Pie's things like she asked her months ago, if she was looking for a job, maybe that she could look at Sugar Corner. So when she went there, she met Mrs. Cake at the cash register, asking if it was possible that she may find a work at this store. She told that she helped Pinkie while she was staying in Ponyville for a short time, and she explained the reason why she was asking for it was possible to get a job there. Even if it's a small paid job, but anything that was possible for her to save up enough to find her own place. Pinkie was actually overheard. She said that Miss King that she was actually very polite to any of the customers, and luckily though, some of the customers in the store actually saw that and heard, and they explained and they told Mrs. Cake that she was very polite, made them laugh, and they she actually didn't mind to hesitate. Mrs. Cake hired Morning Glory on the spot. She was going to help Pinkie in the kitchen, baking and delivers. And as for the first time in a while, things actually was looking forward to her. A little bit more bright. All her life was now lighting up enough again. And during that time, she and Pinkie actually got closer. They even get very close friends. Even after about after a few months, Morning Glory actually found her own small apartment in town, and she was grateful. After about a year living in Ponyville, she actually had made a lot of friends, and even have found a boyfriend. She was actually very happy to find some pony to be with. Even all of this was a very grateful Pinkie. If Pinkie had even stood up for her at the Sugar Corner about a while back, she may not have even stayed in Ponyville. She may have moved on to some other place to stay some other relatives or something. But she was very grateful to Pinkie. Things actually was looking forward now. She had her own place, she had a lot of friends, and even a boyfriend. But one day, it all came down in a big crash. Her boyfriend broke up with her, and she was devastated. But she still kept us in a very good mood. She went always to work, paid her rent, spent time with friends, but it was made always feeling one thing was missing, and that was a true love. Pinkie actually started to notice something was off. She saw that something was a little bit different from Morning Glory. She was always smiling, but she could somehow sense those smiles were not true happy smiles. It was like forced smile on her. And it was then she found out about Morning Glory's ex-boyfriend broke up with her a few weeks earlier. She was actually sad to hear that. But Pinkie, as many of her friends know, she would have done anything to make her truly happy again. She actually decided to spend more time with Morning Glory because she didn't want to see her friends sad at all. Especially when the Masquerade Festival was approaching. She asked Morning Glory if she wanted to go to the festival with her as a friend, and she said, fine, why not? Pinkie, she went as a pirate. Morning Glory, she went as a princess. They actually had a lot of good time there, but something different actually did happen. Morning Glory started to realize something was off, but on something different though. Because as she always looked at Pinkie, she felt that somehow her heart was beating faster every single time. It was then she realized she had fallen in love with Pinkie, her good friend. She wasn't even aware. She wasn't not aware that she was into Maris at all. but she decided to keep that as a secret, at least for a while. The only ones that she had told was Lyra. And even though that she knows Lyra was into mares and she was married, and there was some point that she could trust that her secret. Lyra's true only answer, or at least advice, to Morning Glory was to tell Pinkie how she feels. Even with the risk of being rejected, but it was the only way for her to be known for sure. Even though Morning Glory herself was not much of a okay with the idea, but it took at least a couple of days after she had the advice from Lyra when she really decided to tell Pinkie. So when Pinkie had a break from her work, Morning Glory actually walks up to her and asks if they could talk, and Pinkie said yes. That was then when Morning Glory decided, and she actually told Pinkie how she felt. She was expecting that she was saying, "Oh, I like you as a friend, but we're seeing you as a sister," but it was nothing. She was just smiling, and somehow Pinkie said that she could sense something about this could actually happen. And they actually decided to go on a date just to see if there were any spark between them, to see if this actually could work. Because they didn't want to be rushing into a relationship without knowing if this was not even going to work at all. So they actually went to the movies on the Friday, same week, and they actually had a great time. So they decided to go maybe for two more dates, just in case. And those 2 days actually went to four, later actually to 10, and then they admit they were in love with each other. And they actually announced to all their friends they were dating. Their friends and their families were really happy to see that they actually found some pony to be with. Their relationship actually continued to get stronger and stronger for each day that went. There was nothing actually wrong. There were no fights. They never argued. They actually had a good time. But after they had been dating for about 6 months, Morning Glory asked Pinkie if she wanted to move in with her in her apartment. Pinkie was not hesitating, so she moved in with Morning Glory. Despite they were only been dating for about 6 months, some of her friends may have said that was maybe a bit too early, but they actually said, "Go ahead, Pinkie, this might work," and it did. Because only about another 6 months, they had been together for about a year to that point, they actually got married. Because Morning Glory, after the only 1 year anniversary, proposed to Pinkie at the park. She was not expecting that, but she was just happy to know. On the wedding, the entire Pie family was invited and they were all excited. Pinkie, though, she couldn't be more happier. And even especially when I found out where they were going on the honeymoon. It turns out Twilight had actually arranged a whole week at Las Pegasus. And it was a great time. They actually loved the place. All the magical shows, everything else they could even think of. But after they had been married for about 3 years, they thought maybe they were ready to start a family. So they asked Twilight if it was possible for her to help, and she was really happy to help her friends. After all, she had helped many other marriage couples over the years, and she was just really happy to be able to help her two friends. And Morning Glory decided she was going to be pregnant. And a few months later, they actually had their own daughter, which they was told a few weeks early after that. And both of them were really happy. They named the daughter Strawberry Pie. And like her parents, she loved to bake. She actually found her true passion in baking as a young filly when she helped Pinkie at Sugar Corner, and she loved to spend time with her grandparents at the rock farm, and especially to spend time with her aunts, Marble Pie, Limestone Pie, and even Mud Pie. She actually found a love in baking at a young age, and from that, she wanted to be a baker like her mom. And when she was a bit older, she actually started working, so at least a part-time job at Sugar Corner. Used to be as a trainee or apprentice to her own mom, Pinkie. But when she was older enough, around 20, she actually started working there full time, along with her moms, and they actually didn't have in mind that. But when she was about 25, she actually fell in love with a stallion from Ponyville. They even got married after being dating for about 3 years, and they even had two daughters of their own. Even after all this time, Pinkie and Morning Glory could not be happier to be with each other. If Morning Glory never had actually had even walked to Sugar Cube Corner all those years ago, she may not have even found her true love. And Pinkie, she may not have even run into Morning Glory at all at that day. And if they hadn't, they would have found their true love and to have their daughter together. And for that, both of them were actually very happy that did happen. Because having a such connection is something made their love for each other even stronger. The bond that they had, the connection they had, made everything such strong. And for that, Pinkie and Morning Glory was really happy to have found their true love. And this is how Pinkie Pie and Morning Glory found their true love, for kind of family together. The end.